All right, welcome guys back to the movie Battleground. Today we have two new competitors competing us within this new season. Like we we had the previous match with Matt Beer and Nico Rigoli. Now we have two new competitors. These two they are very new to this game. So how you guys feeling about this game?
Uh, feeling good. Feeling good. Like I said, just get to talk about movies more. So why not? It's fun.
All right, all right, JD, are you excited for this game? I mean, this is basically
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I've been a fan of movie fights um since before who got eliminated, and wait to play in this version.
all right. It's all good. I mean, yeah. Even this is my basically. I've already judged before, but it's been a long time, so we'll see how it goes. All right. So if everyone's ready, we'll just go ahead to the first round. So the first question then, and the first question is this. Let's see. Uh, pitch. The first question is pitch a sequel to any Will Smith movie, and we'll start. Uh, okay. This is how it's gonna go. Like you guys both have 1 minute extensions if you guys choose to do so in the 5 minute debating round, right? So, all right. Whoever wants to go first with the intro, you guys get to choose. Whoever wants to go first with this question.
JD can go first. I'm straight.
I so Dr. Bennett Omalu was the father of CTE research in the NFL, but in my sequel to Will Smith's movie Concussion, called Concussion, the controversy ensues. People are trying to disprove his research, even though it's all factual. And I'll tell more after the other opponent goes.
Is that that's it? Can you say? You can. I mean, there's no time limit to making your intro. So.
Okay. I wasn't aware. Sorry. So the reason there's one word misspelled in title, but that's intentional. Ensues is spelled Inseaus because a son of a football player, Tyler Sue, during an interview, flipped out on Dr. Benu Malu, who Will Smith will be playing again. He was mad that Dr. Benu Malu was going to do an autopsy on his dad. So he flipped out saying, "You're not going to touch my effing dad no matter what." And in my movie, Tyler Sue is going to be played by Jacob Artist or Jacob Artist from Glee.
All right, then we'll just go straight to RJ for his intro.
All right.
Okay.
The year is 1901. William McKinley has just been assassinated, and Theodore Roosevelt is now the president. Also, when investigating the murder, they have discovered that the weapon used to murder McKinley was an invention made by missing scientist Artemis Gordon. So, Theodore Roosevelt realizes that in his Secret Service, he has a new young rookie by the name of James West Jr. Being the cowboy fan that he is, he realizes that this is the son of the legendary Captain James West, who will be reprising, Will Smith will be reprising his role from the first one, and asks this young recruit to use his dad to go outside of the law and find Artemis Gordon and this new anarchist group that threatened the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wild Wild West Anarchy, starring Will Smith with John Boyega as James West Jr. Reprising his role as Artemis Gordon as well will be Kevin Kline. And in a surprise role, Amelia Gordon will be played by Emma Watson, who is Artemis Gordon's daughter, who helped the Wesses on this crazy ride. And it will be directed by Antoine Fuqua. A fun summer adventure with two of the most underrated, hilarious gentlemen you have ever seen on screen. And also just a fun gunslinging movie, just like the original.
All right, then. When RG came in with a blast for his intro. So any of you want to use your extensions before we start this debating round?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm
Okay.
good.
So we're just gonna start basically the debating round in 3, 2, 1. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Okay,
No one wants
so
to see a sequel to Concussion. Nobody wants to see it. That movie was depressing and sad, and nobody cares anymore. Nobody wants to see that sequel. There, I said it. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it.
nobody wants
Nobody wants.
to
Nobody
see
wants
a
it.
sequel to. Nobody wants to see a sequel to a bad movie already. And Wild Wild West was a bad movie, and I don't think even bringing back such star quality as John Boyega and Emma Watson, you're going to draw that many crowds. So
Oh no, that's not
it's
about.
going
That's
to
not about
do
anything like
bad.
that. That's
It's
not about
going
anything like that. John Boyega's hilarious. Him and Will Smith playing off each other as father and son would be the most hilarious thing ever. I don't care anything about how people felt about Wild Wild West. Everybody loves to go watch a dumb movie and lose their self in it. That is what Wild Wild West Anarchy will be. A dumb movie that has no historical significance, just a fun adventure with two funny guys playing father and son. And Emma Watson herself is also hilarious when she gets her chops in. Her as that play that Kevin Kline can't fill because he's kidnapped is just going to be a perfect thing to it. Your movie, we're talking about going back to like, we want to see some guy conflict with him. No, we saw that in the first one. We saw people try to disprove him and they failed. We've already seen him prove the people wrong that his thing is right. It's unnecessary. We've already seen it. Why do we want to just see it again? Why do we want to see him prove people wrong again? He already did it.
Yes, but the reason people want, I don't know about people want to see it again, but the reason we're revisiting in my movie is because it's still happening today with the NFL. The NFL are trying to disprove because he was right. I'll give you that, but they don't think, and his research is ruining their pocket, so they want him eliminated. So that's why one of the biggest doctors for the Chargers wants people to not remember Amalu. Dr. David Cho, look it up. He was the doctor for the Chargers, and he convinced Tyler So or Jacob Harness in my film. By the way, Dr. Joe will be probably played by Randall Park, and so Dr. Joe is still convincing people that Dr. Beneobalu is wrong, and frankly, a lot of people who are still fans of the NFL are second guessing themselves because the NFL still says Dr. Beneobalu is wrong.
Where? Where do they say that? Where do they say he's still wrong? Where have people not admitted that concussions happen? I know people who play. I have a football coach for a dad, for a cousin, and everything. They know the dangers of concussion. Nobody's trying to play like that doesn't happen. So I don't know what you're talking about, because it happens, and people know it, and people respect it. That movie was super hard to watch and super hard to face the fact that it happens. But people went and watched it and admitted it. Nobody wants to revisit that again. We've already seen it. Why do we need to continue the story? We get it. It's something we have to pay attention to.
Why did we want to continue the story of Wild Wild West? It was a dumb movie that nobody liked until it was.
I liked it, so you're already wrong. I liked it, so you're already wrong. Because I liked it. So
okay, so everybody except you didn't like it in theaters, but it grew a cult following, and Concussion is a totally different story. People respect it. What?
No, I say.
Wait.
And time. With that, I mean, RJ coming, firing in at 4 cylinders, and JD really needs to convince me on this, on his closing statement. Because, I mean, so far I feel like RJ is, he attacked him really well. All right. So, JD, with your closing statement, you can start whenever you want.
I'm not denying that people get concussion. No, that is terrible, but the fact that the main contributor to football doesn't like the medical professional who discovered the bad things of concussions, and that another doctor behind the NFL is trying to propagandize people into convincing them that Dr. Malu's research did not happen as a travesty. I want to figure out how Pierre Landesberg will want to deal with that, and how could convince people that Dr. Chow is wrong and the NFL is wrong, but also not ignore the controversy that Dr. Benu Malu has against him for wanting to perform a medical review over somebody's father that the family didn't consent to.
All right, then. With that, I'll just jump over to RJ for his closing.
Look, like you said, man, this is a very important issue, and everyone should be aware of it. But like I said, and like I keep having to tell you, dude, no one's going to want to go see the exact same movie. You have no new plot. It's the exact same thing. Someone trying to tell this guy that he's wrong and him proving them wrong. That's all it is. You're going to literally go in there and watch the same movie. Nobody wants that. What you're describing to me is a documentary. I'm sorry. Like, there's no story. You can't add on to it. Unless there's enough stuff from his personal life to try to put in there, you would have maybe an hour movie. And that is not enough to keep people in the seats. But you know what you can do for an hour and a half? You can sit there and watch Will Smith be 90s Will Smith again with a little bit of more action in it. Because if you don't believe Will Smith can pull off being a 65-year-old man and can still be a gunslinger, you need to go watch all of Liam Neeson's recent movies, because he has proven that old guys can still make it look like they still got it, especially with a man like Antoine Fuqua behind the camera. And you put John Boyega in there with him, you're going to have a good time, and that's it. I'd rather have a good time than sit through more of the same.
All right then. I mean, RJ again, once again, firing in and basically trying to rip away, JD's choice. I mean, okay, here's why it all comes to. I mean, RJ basically say it's a. I mean, JD's pitch is basically the same movie, and that nothing is different. But JD has a point with um, about RJ's choice that it's a crappy movie. I mean, to fact check, I mean, the movie has a budget of Wild Wild West has a budget of 170 million, and it earned around 222 million, which is considered at the time a box office disappointment, and also received negative reviews. And I mean, this is just the. I mean, this is the just to fact check. While I mean, Concussion, I mean, it was widely received well by the audience. And I mean, for me, I thought the story about Concussion, the CTE, I think it all was wrapped at the end. It was all wrapped up. I didn't see any continuation for that movie. So JD didn't really convince me. Did not really convince me on that. Um, but RJ keeps attacking. I mean, he gave a really good pitch about Will Smith. I mean, he made a good point about like old people with going back to the action. I mean, let me check one second. Oh, Will Smith is basically like 50 years old. Basically, not. I mean, Liam Neeson is actually older, so basically, here's why I come to. RJ attacks JD's point. JD's pitch is, I have to admit, RJ made that slam dunk point, which I think gave him this point and this question. And that was basically that. This is basically the same movie that JD is pitching. I mean, it's hard for me to disagree. So RJ is going to take the first point. We're moving into the second question. Good game, guys. Question number 2. We're going to Marvel then. So the question is, who? Avengers just came out. I mean, if you have not seen it, what's wrong with you? So the question is, who is the funniest MCU character? This time, we're just going to start with RJ.
This is a hard one. There's a lot of funny characters in the MCU. Everyone has their one-liner moments, and I mean everybody, because I looked. Everybody has their one-liners. But when it came down for it to me, I looked at someone who has enough screen time to really warrant to looking at them enough to say that they are continuously funny. And this character for me is someone who doesn't get enough credit, at least until more recently, of how funny they can actually be. So my vote for me goes to Thor.
Okay, so good intro. We're just gonna continue to JD for his intro. JD, you can start whenever you want.
Okay, I picked a kid who comes from New York who is basically a really good cast for a kid who is a huge geek that just so happens to have superpowers that he is still geeking out about the world around him. My pick is Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
All right. So you guys, once again, if you guys want to choose to use your extensions, now is the time.
I'm good.
You good? Okay. Let's just let me set up the timer. Matt, you can cut this cut this part, like the quiet parts. All right. We're just gonna start with a time 5 minutes on the clock. In 3, 2, 1.
So the reason I picked Peter Parker was because that when we first are introduced to him in Civil War, he's just listening to his music. He turns around and there's one of his idols, Tony Stark, talking and flirting to his Aunt May, and he's just really confused what all is happening. And when Tony takes Parker into Parker's bedroom, Peter still doesn't know what's going on until until Tony Stark tells him that they need him in Germany, and the first quip hits hard where it's like, I can't. Why not? I have homework. See, he still cares about school, even though he has the opportunity to kick butt as a superhero in Berlin. And I
That's
find
not
that
funny.
really
That's
fun.
responsible. That's not funny. That's responsible. He's a responsible young man. He wants to do his homework. That's not funny. How dare you make fun of his responsibility? He's trying to be a
Yeah,
respectable honor student. He makes good grades and he's trying to do his homework. Look, everyone expects Spider-Man to be funny. That is his character. He's a smart-ass kid who's a superhero and no one knows he is. That's what he's supposed to be. Nobody saw Thor coming. Even with his earlier quips, one of the best lines from the first Avengers, and I'm talking like right behind that man is playing Galaga, is when Thor is talking to them and talking about how, like, be careful how you speak of Loki. But he is of Asgard. He's killed 80 people in the last 48 hours. He's adopted. One of the best lines in that entire movie. And we can even go farther back to when that man in his first movie walks into a pet store and with the most serious face is like, I need a horse now. And when he goes to the coffee shop, never had coffee before, another breaks the table. And don't even get me started about Thor Ragnarok. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But he keeps it going and going and going. Thor's comedic timing is on point. Also, spoiler for Avengers Infinity War. Not going to really go into plot details, but he is one of the funniest parts of that movie. And I challenge anybody to deny that. Everyone always wants to go for Tony Stark, for Peter Parker. They're supposed to be funny. They're supposed to be smartasses who come with the quips. Nobody expected it from Thor, and that's why he should be recognized as the funniest character, because nobody expects it from him.
You guys still have 2 more minutes.
I'm letting him talk. I'm letting him talk.
Okay, I didn't know how much time we have left, so but the funniest part that really sells Peter Parker as the funniest character, in my opinion, is when in both Civil War and and Avengers Infinity War, he makes two old movie references that everybody else has seen. He has not. Everybody else just reacting like, "What, you just seen that movie? It's hilarious." Especially when it pays off for both times where Peter shoots Ebony Ball out the side of Thanos' Q ship and Civil
No,
War, where
I'm sorry. I have to
they
stop you
take
there.
down
I
Ant-Man
have to stop you there.
and
It wasn't funny because he asked if they had seen that old movie. It was funny because of how War Machine and Tony Stark reacted to it. I'm sorry, it's not funny because he said, "Hey, have you seen that old movie Empire Strikes Back?" It was funny because right after Don Cheadle was like, "Jesus, Tony, how old is this kid? I don't know. I didn't carbon date him. He's on the young side." That's what made that scene funny. And the only reason it made it funny in Infinity War because it was a callback to that first joke.
Time. 5 minutes is up. All right. So let me get my camera on again. All right. With that, once again, RJ keeps attacking, and JD is also firing back with various arguments. So you guys both have your closing. We're gonna start with RJ.
Look, like I said, man, Spider-Man's a funny kid. He's hilarious. But he's funny because he's us. He's well, not all of us, some of us are a little bit older, but he's a kid thrown into this situation and all of a sudden is a hero, part of this world, and he's reacting to everything around him. And it's funny because that's probably how we would react. And that's why he's funny. So I gotta give him that. But as a character themselves who has grown to just every time they're on screen, I'm just ready to smile because I know they're going to say something that's going to make me laugh, and it's surprisingly become Thor. Every time Thor's on screen, I'm waiting for something hilarious to happen, and it usually does. Chris Hemsworth, I know we're really not talking about the characters, but Chris Hemsworth's comedic timing is so underrated. But Thor should be recognized as one of the funniest, if not the funniest character of the MCU.
All right, JD, we're closing.
yes, he's a kid that is thrown into this situation. That's what makes comics relatable to us in a certain sense, no matter which comedian you follow. With Thor, his funny moments are because he's a fish out water in the first one, and in Avengers, he's still that fish out water character, but by the time it comes to Infinity War, he's still considered fish out water because most of the time he's with the Guardians and he doesn't know them, so he's just reacting to any situation that he's in. And I personally don't think that reactions are always funny, but coming up with your own quips is hilarious.
All right then. Both of you did well for your closing. The argument part is why I really have to come this down to. RG came firing at JD's point that the things that Peter Parker does is all responsibility. It's not funny. It's not his funny clips, but to some people it might be funny, but RJ may have. That's his good point. Attacking JD's choice, but the thing in this whole thing is, man, I'm not sure if JD made an attack on Thor. Did he? Matt, I need you to check on that.
Check on what?
That if JD made an attack on RJ's choice on Thor? Because
I mean, I can't check on that since the match is recording right now.
All right,
So we'll
all right.
just
Yeah, we'll
go
just
from
go
there.
because I didn't really hear it. So, and 3, 2, 1. All right. So what this all comes down to is just basically. I mean, GD did not. I mean, I didn't. I mean, if you did, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that you made any point against Thor. I mean, if you did, I mean that would make you. I mean, as high up there with RJ making his arguments. But this is hard. I mean, it's you just all you need is just to attack on his point on Thor. I didn't hear that, so I just I mean the second question goes to RJ again. RJ takes the 2-0 lead, and we're just gonna move on to the third question, which is what uh what would be the best movie written by Gary Ross? We're gonna start this time with JD.
Okay, the best movie written by Gary Ross is about uh is uplifted people in the time it was released. It was a great story about a racing horse named Seabiscuit, and it came out during the it was or came out or was set around the Great Depression, and people were going through a really tough time during the Great Depression, and Seabiscuit was one of the movies that just made people forget about the real world for a little bit, and those are the best kinds of movies where you could escape for a certain amount of time from the real world and the horrible things going around in it.
All right, RJ, were you opening on why is the best?
So, so for me, honestly, I think this one is honestly a no-brainer. One of the, if not one of the most beloved movies of its time, with one of the most beloved actors of all time. I think my vote's got to go for Big with Tom Hanks. I mean, the adventure of a boy who turns into a man but is still a boy it's one of the most funny and heartwarming stories that I've ever seen put to film. And I think it's because of the writing in it that just spoke to the audience, that just makes it such a great screenplay.
All right, we're just gonna I'm just gonna keep asking again. If anyone wants to use the time extension on this. You guys good? All right.
Yep.
We're just gonna start the 5-minute argument round in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, the reason Big is not Gary Ross's best movie because in the movie, the character Tom Hanks plays falls in love with an adult woman while he himself is still a boy, and that is just plain creepy.
You've never had a crush on an older woman, really. You could say in your entire life you've never had a friend, or you yourself have never had a crush on an older woman. She doesn't know
Not that far. Not that far difference
She
between.
doesn't know that. That's the whole point. She doesn't know that. And he doesn't care. He's a kid going through his hormones. He's finding girls attractive. He's not going to think about her age. He sees a beautiful woman. Of course he's going to fall for her. Come on. It's ridiculous. And first of all, with your whole thing, you were talking about how the movie let people escape. The movie came out way after the Great Depression. Not even accurate. That movie came out in 2003. Nobody was worried about the Great Depression anymore. I understand what you were trying to go for, but watch your words, because that was completely misinformed. But look, I
No,
get what you're
I'm
saying.
saying
Seabiscuit was a great story for the time. He was an underdog horse coming up, and people were able to escape from the normal life of what was going on in America and watch this underdog succeed. There was another horse that did that. They also got a movie. Personally, I think it's a better movie, and that's called Secretariat. If I could actually pick between those movies, I remember Secretariat way more than I remember Seabiscuit. Maybe it's because it's newer. I don't know. But it's a movie about a horse.
okay. I get that the movie came out way after the Great Depression, but what the movie is about is people escaping from the Great Depression, and when Seabiscuit came out, they're still dealing with strong at the time. They're still dealing with 9/11 2 years prior, so they're still dealing with the after effects of that, and with the president trying to push people into a country that not everybody wanted to go to war with.
Fair, but there were a lot of other movies that did that flutter too. Secretariat was not the movie that everyone went to escape to. So that's my whole thing right there. Like I wasn't like, yeah, let me go watch Secretariat so I don't think about all the bad things going on in the country. I'd rather go home and watch TV and watch Power Rangers. But Big, come on. Big is such a classic. I can put on that movie anytime I want. Who doesn't remember the infamous chopstick scene? I mean, I know that has nothing to do with the screenplay, but maybe it does. Maybe he wanted that scene in there. I don't really know. But what I can tell you is that man took the time to write down and think about what this kid would go through the adult eyes, like the good, the bad, and you see it in that film. We see there's some dark times in that film, like when he first goes to that hotel and he's freaking out that he's by himself, or the fun times when you realize, yeah, I'm a kid, I'm an adult, and I can get a paycheck. I'm gonna rent arcade stuff and put it in my house. I'm gonna get a bunk bed even though I'm living by myself. You know why? Because I can. And I mean, it was just so much fun. Secretariat. See, I can't even say Seabiscuit because Secretariat was so much better. Seabiscuit was a nice inspirational film, but Big was just way more fun.
You guys still have 30 seconds. You guys want to add anything? 30 seconds.
I'm good.
Left.
I'm good.
All right, we're just gonna end it there. Just let me get my notes. All right. So with that, we end the 5-minute round, and now we're just gonna start with the closing with JD first for his closing on Seabiscuit. JD, wherever you want, wherever you start.
Okay, the reason why Seabiscuit is better than Big is because, yes, it's inspirational. Yes, it's about people escaping from a tough time, but it's also about I was gonna say, but it's about a movie where I don't even know what I'm gonna say, so I'm gonna cut it here.
Say what now?
I
Okay.
can't think of anything else, so
Oh, okay. You could just say, I mean, and that's it. No. So, so I'll
yeah,
go.
that's it.
All right. You're closing.
I mean, that right there should just prove that there's nothing left to say about Seabiscuit because that's how just down the list of his screenplays that this is. If I'm going to recommend a movie to someone wants to know about Gary Ross and wants to know about the movies he's written, Big is going to be at the top of anybody's list because it's beyond rememberable, first of all, and it's just a fun movie. It's written really well. I actually remember watching it for my screenwriting class. So that in itself already tells me that it's a really good screenplay and it's an even better movie. And I'm good.
All right then. I mean, this round came closer than I thought it would be. I mean, it came closer than previous two rounds. But JD made some good points regarding the movie. I mean, dealing with Great Depression and having coming out 2 years after the events of 9/11. I mean, it could really impact people emotionally. And it could just I think RJ made more impact on this round than JD. Just that I mean he makes more attacks on JD's choice. That there's a which movie was it that you said, RJ?
Which one? Secretariat? The other horse movie?
Yeah. I mean, you made great hits. I mean, on that I mean, over and over you say that. I mean, Seabiscuit is just like basically like inferior to that movie, and that Big is basically showing that how you deal with when you're an adult all of a sudden, and my decision is this is tough. All right, JD. I mean, your 5 minute round was. I mean, you did better than the RJ. It's just that the closing, he just did a little bit more than you did. I mean, that's why. I mean, I was a little let down that it didn't talk more on how you want to defend your choice. It's all right. This third question goes to RJ again. The score is now 3-0. We're moving to the fourth question, and here's how it is. If RJ gets the fourth question, he gets a knockout victory. And if JD somehow pulls a point, we're going to a speed round. So, sounds good for everyone?
Yep, sounds good.
Before, are you guys gonna use your 1 minute extension for fourth round, fourth question?
I
JD?
probably will not.
JD, are you gonna use your 1 minute extension?
I don't want to.
JD, I couldn't hear you.
I said I didn't want to use my extension.
All right. So moving on to a fourth question, and I mean we know Jack Black. He's basically the funny guy from Jumanji. I mean he's also in other movies. He's coming out with the House with Clock on Its Walls, if I'm correct.
It's something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, those are basically. I mean, we've remembered his iconic role as Kung Fu Panda. I mean, he's funny in that. But we're not just gonna talk about. I'm not asking what would be his best performance. I'm asking what's the worst movie starring Jack Black. And we're gonna go to RJ on this for his intro.
I mean, this is hard because I love Jack Black. but I think there's no question what the worst movie starring him is, and that's Gulliver's Travels. The horrible retelling of a classic novel, which I really enjoyed as a kid, but just almost had nothing to do with the source material. Just real bad writing on whoever's part that was, but just gag me with a spoon. That movie is terrible, and I'm really sad that it's on his resume. But yeah, Gulliver's Travel, easy.
All right, strong opening. JD, your choice. What would be your worst Jack Black movie?
Okay. Well, when the question was asked to me, it was worst movies starring Jack Black. So even though he has not as big a role in this movie, I'll have to say that the worst movie that he's in is Mars Attacks.
All right, then.
The reason I went for this is because it made half of its original budget in gross, not adjusted for inflation, and it was real just a bad political in my opinion, and it this is hard. So,
Okay, you can. You still have time. There's no time limit for the opening.
okay, yeah. So I brought up that it was a political commentary, a comedy, and it's not a really good one at that. So it wasn't really good comedy. Jack Black isn't memorable in the movie, and it was a box office flop of major proportions.
All right, we're just gonna go on with the 5-man round, and both of these players have chosen not to use their 1-minute extension. So we're just gonna start with the 5-man round right now.
There's no way. Like, Mars Attacks, first of all, is a spoof. It was supposed to be a really bad spoof, and it was. It literally was not trying to be anything else than a spoof movie. It is so bad it's good. That thing, you were talking about cult followings earlier. That movie has such a cult following. Nobody remembers Gulliver Travels. Nobody wants to remember Gulliver's Travels. I've seen it twice, and I wish I had it, but I had to give it another chance, and it was still just as bad. Mars Attacks, though, I can watch for a good laugh, as can most people.
JD, I mean, you guys can keep arguing. I mean, we still have time. There's 4 minutes left.
Honestly, can I just forfeit this round? I wasn't as well researched as I thought it was. I know he's gonna knock me out, but I have no points against that.
And your winner, RJ, the Red Ranger Villarreal. I mean, it's a 4-0 knockout by RJ Villarreal. It's really unfortunate for someone to forfeit at his very last chance to even to get a point. I mean, I mean personally, I get you. I get you. It's this is very different from movie trivia, and personally, from just between two of us, we are not that different, JD. As you see, myself, I've lost 2 matches, and both of those I get a gooseball leg for those matches. So, but I just have to give you a pat on the back. You did well. You did your best you could. Just that RJ is the most superior opponent. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but it is what it is. RJ. I mean, we're just gonna go with the winner. RJ, you came in strong today. What do you have to say now that you have won? We're knockout.
I mean, a knockout shouldn't take anything away from my opponent, nor should it say anything about me. I'm just a very opinionated person. So when it comes to stuff like this, I can most of the time do fairly well. So, it was just one of those days where my arguments just happen to be slightly better. Will I continue this? Probably not. I'll probably lose my next match, but I can tell you I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, not taking away from anything from JD. He did try. At the end, you know what? It's whatever. If he wanted to walk away, it's walk away. I can't take anything away from him for that. But he put up a fight, and like I said, it was a good game, but it's nice to walk away with a KO in your first game.
All right then. I mean, it's I mean, to me, I mean, you guys were close on some point. It's just that, I mean, I just need that little bit more push from JD. I mean, I know this is his first time, but I just have to give him props for showing up, being able to do his best. But I mean, I couldn't take away from you, man. I mean, you basically surprised me. You came striking at him. You just didn't give a damn about anyone. You just came and fired at all cylinders. I mean, personally, you did well. Okay. All right. So now we're just gonna go to our unfortunate loser who forfeited at the last question. I mean, JD, this must be tough. I mean, personally, I know how you feel. I've said that just now, that it's a beginners, for people who start at this. I mean, personally, I know it's not easy. So what do you have to say, man?
Yeah, it was pretty tough for me. I'm fairly new to worldwide movie games, so I didn't know what to expect when I was put into a movie Battleground match. So now that I know the format, I could just research my topic a little more to come back stronger the next time. That's all it is. I just have to do more research, and hopefully I don't have to deal with such a opinionated person next time. No offense to RJ, but that was pretty tough to go against somebody who is completely shooting you down every chance that you got.
I mean, I feel that, man. I mean, my match was with Evan. Just don't talk about that. I mean, all right then.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to talk about this match either, even though it was a really good showing by RJ. It was not a good showing for me, so I'm not going to talk about it.
I mean, back to RJ, man. So, what's next for you then after this victory? That what's next for you?
Well, I mean, I'm 1-0, so that puts me a little bit more in line to get another match. So whoever y'all got ready for me, I'm not exactly sure who's all in here, nor who I technically have the audacity to call out. Obviously, no one who's been in the tournaments, because those guys have way bigger and longer records than me. But whoever y'all want to put me up against next, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this again.
Perhaps anyone you want to do a shout out to, like anyone you want to challenge.
Nah, I'm not that guy. I'm really not. Y'all learned that very quickly about me. I'm not that guy.
All right.
But you line them up, and I will attempt to knock them down or fall down trying.
And so the Ranger speaks. So it's this has been fun for me to judge. I mean, as a judge that's not really that experienced, I mean, this is a really tough match to judge, to be honest. But I mean, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser, and tough calls has to be made. I mean, yeah, this has been fun. So with that, we're just gonna end this episode of Movie Battleground. I mean, before we end the show, where can the good people find you? RJ?
You guys can find me over at Full Metal Media, competing in the new multiplex channel. And on Full Metal Media, you can find me hosting the matches. You can find me with Jeremy on Nostalgia Goggles, and also with my other admins doing all the various shows we do.
All right, JD, where can the good people find you?
People can find Jack of all trivia. I like competing over there because they have they have a Air Geekdom and Comic Book League that I'm really excited to compete in. You can also find me on Twitter at S Films, and you can find me on Instagram under the same name.
All right, then. I mean, this is fun. I hope you guys, I hope the viewers enjoy this. With that, I'm gonna end this now, and we're just gonna go back to the next episode of Movie Battleground. See you guys later.